New neighbor thinks my flags are an eyesore, posted by Michigan Kerr, and this OP is not even in the HOA. Check this out. Background. About 4 years ago, my township placed a new ordinance which forbids new freestanding flagpoles. This was to curb obnoxious political flag wars. It didn't work, as most involved in such things already had flagpoles, sometimes multiple, or they just mounted them to their trucks. I had a flagpole which, about 3 years ago while I was on vacation, was presumably knocked over by a drunk driver. They were never caught. I thought since my original pole was grandfathered in, confirmed at an onset of ordinance, a new pole wouldn't be a problem. I was quickly sent a warning and lost my appeal, having to remove the new pole. This saddened me, so I went looking through town ordinances and, lo and behold, there's no limit to how many single flags can be mounted on your buildings via poles. Hurrah! I now have 3 flagpoles on my garage. From left to right, we got an American flag, a POW/MIA remembrance flag, and the third flag gets rotated per what I find humorous or speaks to me, usually non-political unless it's my "you are both idiots" flag. Currently, it's a Jolly Roger. Yeah, I'm a pirate, 200 years too late. This setup is specific. The American flag is the largest, and I don't want it smacking the house. And with the way the house is set up, no matter if you come from the left or the right, you'll first see that American flag and then the POW flag, followed by my last one. All 3 flags I have just replaced as of the first week of April. Now, I've had my share of headbutting with the HOA down the street. I'm not part of them. Sometime in the past few years, they have decided that houses in the HOA are only allowed 1 American flag and 1 military flag on the condition that you served in that branch. Not my circus. They can dictate that if they want to. Oddly enough, I have talked to the current head of the HOA, and the HOA has no issue with my flags. The color I painted my shed, however, that's another story. And now, on to the story. Loose dogs. I woke up this weekend to find 2 strange dogs playing in my yard. They quickly decide I'm a friend, and they follow my commands once they realize that I have treats. Awesome sauce. I secure the dogs, making one a quick caller because I live on a busy street and it's obvious there's someone's pets. Before I get the chance to try to call the number on one of the dog's tags, 2 older teenage girls run up looking for them. They don't have leashes on, shaking my head, so I loan them a couple of old leashes and find out that they've recently moved into the HOA. They promise to return my leashes and makeshift collar later that day. Yeah, no big deal. Worst case, I'm out something that, well, I really wasn't using anyways, and I've done my good deed for the day. A little bit later, I'm working in my garage tending to some seedlings I'm trying to get to grow, and I hear voices outside. So there's me, girl 1 and 2, and ornery man. Girl 1 says, "It was definitely this house. I remember the flags." I hit the remote to fully open the door. The ornery man says, "Well, I can't quite tell what he says, but I hear flags a few times, and..." "He's nice, Grandpa," the second girl says. I go, "Hey, welcome back." "Sorry again they got loose. Thank you for your help." And they hand me back my leashes. Hey, no worries. It happens. I'm sure they'll get used to the area soon. But yeah, do try to keep an eye on them. There are predators around. "We'll try, thank you." "What's with these flags here?" He looks at the pirate flag. "We're not at sea." "Well, we used to have a flagpole, but it got knocked down. I thought the house looked odd with only 2, so I put up a third for balance and whimsy." "Well, the HOA only allows 2 at maximum." Well, I didn't know they had that limit. I actually did know, I just don't care." "Well, you should." "I'm actually not part of the HOA, so if they want 2 maximum, it really doesn't affect me." "Well, you should follow their rules. It'll make for a better neighborhood." And at this point, the girls try to get him to change subject or just leave. Hey, I've had plenty of issues with them trying to push their rules on me. I'd rather they just stay over there with their list of rules. The girls look anxious and say goodbye, trying to convince Grandpa to go with them, but he stays behind. "Oh, but they bring up your property values. You should want to bring up theirs." He looks around. "Well, for example, by painting your house." I hold up my dominant hand, currently wrapped and recovering from surgery. "Yeah, it's too cold right now to paint, and I'm recovering from surgery, but I'll get it done this summer." "Well, at least you'll take down the flags when you paint. They're an eyesore." "Hey, I like them, and as soon as the paint's dry, they'll go right back up." but you should comply with the HOA rules. I purposely did not buy a house in an HOA, and that HOA has given me enough headaches over the years. If the HOA wants them down, they can try to take me to court again. See, just one more reason you should do what the HOA rulebook says. You won't lose in court. I'm laughing and I say, okay, I've had enough of this conversation. Please have a good rest of your day. I hit the remote to close the door. The old man pounds on the garage door and I threaten to call the police. After a few, I hear him muttering some words, stupid, flags, and why, along with some odd noises. I go out the front door to see him literally hanging by my American flag. What in the heck are you doing? I'm taking down these eyesores. Get the heck off of my property now. At this point, he loses his grip on the flag, causing him to land on my cement driveway. Well, I'm going to sue you. I could have gotten hurt. Look, I would have helped you up, but since you've mentioned suing me, that won't be happening. He takes another yank on the flag and ends up falling into the grass this time. Give me your insurance information or I'll sue you. Look, idiot, that flag and that pole, they ain't going anywhere. As for my insurance and suing me, go ahead, go ask your beloved HOA how that ended for them. A car pulls up with another man and the girls. Hey, look, your ride's here. Get the heck off my property, man. Some man says, hey, don't talk to my dad like that. Well, he doesn't seem to respond to polite request, I replied. Oh my gosh, he's bleeding. Yeah, and I would have helped him up if he didn't threaten to sue me. He what? Yeah, he tried to tear down my flags, fell off of the flag, and threatened to sue me. The man turns out red. Whoa, you probably pushed him. I never touched him, and I pointed at the camera. It's all been recorded if you want to see it for yourself. The man turns to his dad and says, what the heck are you getting into us now? Just get in the car, Dad. The old ornery man takes another try this time at the POWMIA flag, and I catch him before he runs headlong into my house. Seriously, dude? Get your hands off of me. This is assault. I was going to try to be sure he was steady, but he decides to try and fight me, so I just let go. He ends up falling over onto my work truck's bumper. I'm going to sue you and your company for this. I just laugh at this. The man picks up his dad and shoves him into the car. As they drive away, the old ornery man rolls down his window and shouts, your flags are an eyesore. Later that day, the doorbell rings. It's the girls with their dogs. I brace for everything and anything, not knowing what was going to be said. I give my dog a futile settle command, futile due to 2 dogs in her yard, before stepping outside. Turns out, Grandpa was supposed to give me some money for saving their dogs. They aren't really sure what's up with his issue with the flags, but they admit that they think he may be having some dementia issues. I do ask if he's okay. They said, he's fine and only received some minor scrapes and bruises. And honestly, I'm glad he's only got minor injuries. They insist I take the money, and I finally negotiate to only taking half. I joke that if they say that I took it all and it ever gets brought up, I'd play dumb, which they laugh and they agree to. As they get ready to leave, they tell me that they like my flags, especially the pirate one. Just when you think you heard it all, I've read quite a few HOA stories on this channel, and this guy's probably one of the dumbest on there. And then when we finally get to the part about dementia, I actually have a couple family members who have passed due to dementia, and I've seen the terrible things that it holds and that it does for them. So I do understand if this guy's going through that, but I just wish that this wouldn't have played out this way, because dementia is a terrible disease and this is a crazy situation for this all. But OP, you did good hanging in there. Arresting family members that steal your property. My entitled nephew stole from me one time too many. This time I got them arrested, and now my sister and brother-in-law have to deal with the fallout, and I don't really care anymore. Posted by Yam Throwaway. In a prior post in a different subreddit, I asked if I was the bad guy for wanting to call the police on my nephews for stealing from me, and the overwhelming support I got made me realize that standing my ground was the best thing for me to do. About midway last week, when I came home from work, I noticed my shed door was open and the padlock that I used to keep it shut was broken, and I had a lot of bags full of soda cans in there. I and my friends tend to drink a lot of soda, so I've built up a lot of cans over the course of about a year. and I was going to cash them in at the local bottle drop soon because I like big payouts. It's 10 cents a can where I live after all. But there was more than just my bags of cans missing from the shed too. They took my gardening shears, a steel rake, 2 shovels, one of them being one of those folding camping ones, a full 2-gallon gas can, a cheap power drill I got for like $5 used. They even took an electric hedge trimmer and some small electric chainsaw that was also used, and a machete. Now they didn't touch my lawnmower, my weed whacker, extension cords, or the old radio that I had in there. No idea why they took what they did, but I guess they figured they could resell them or something. I checked my camera footage, and there was my 3 nephews, ages 16, 15, and 14, breaking into my shed with one of their dad's large claw hammers. I recognize the hammer because it's a bright yellow and black, and their dad has a bunch of them. It only took them a few hits to smash that cheap lock. After they broke into my shed, they took what they could by hand, and then they came back with some shopping carts that I'm guessing they also stole. But it took them a few trips to get all of the cans, and they didn't bother to even try and close the door when they were done. My sister and brother-in-law first denied their kids stole anything from me, so I went to their house and I showed them the security footage from my cameras. I'd not told them that I'd had cameras installed, and the reason I had the cameras put in was because of prior thefts by my nephews. It started with food and snacks, and then moved on to DVDs and video games, and then pretty much anything that they thought they could smuggle out after that. And anytime I made them return stuff that they'd stolen from me, I was treated like the bad guy and then got the fakest apologies I'd ever heard. And they never got much in trouble from their parents either. The final straw happened last year when my nephews broke into my house and stole 3 6-packs of my favorite blood orange beer from my fridge. They used my hidden spare key to get in and also took a huge dump in one of my bathrooms, and not only didn't flush but also peed all over the floor. And I'm pretty sure it was intentional. The beer they stole was hidden in one of their bedrooms when I confronted my sister and brother-in-law about my nephew stealing it. And I was basically given an equivalent to boys will be boys when I wanted them punished. So I had the cameras put in and I told no one, which was a smart move. When my sister and brother-in-law saw the camera footage of my nephew stealing from me, they seemed furious. But they were actually madder that their boys skipped school to steal from me. They'd spent all day making repeated trips to the bottle drop and cashing the cans by machine. The bottle drop also pays by machine, so they just kept bringing the cans in till they cashed them all. And then they bought video games and junk food with the money. Said money actually amounted to nearly $200. With that and the destroyed padlock, I told my sister and brother-in-law that they now owed me $200. My sister and brother-in-law went from being angry at their kids to making excuses for them and then being angry at me for wanting that money back when I know they have 3 kids and a mortgage. I said it was either that or I go to the police and press charges. They told me to get out, and I said they have 2 days to decide how to pay me back before I go to the cops. I got back everything else my nephew stole, machete and gas can included, though they'd already used the gas for something else. But over the next couple of days, my sister and brother-in-law were blowing up my phone with a ton of messages, both verbal and text. At first, they were calling me heartless because it was right after the holidays and they have 3 kids and a mortgage. Then they started gaslighting me, then even threatening me. And all of this would go in a repeating cycle. My nephews chimed in from another cell phone and they were sending me lots of messages of their own, which were more fake apologies and gaslighting. My eldest nephew even sent me a picture of himself holding a soda can and giving me the middle finger. So I guess they weren't taking my threats of going to the police seriously because of family. When I last spoke with my sister and brother-in-law, they refused to negotiate any sort of method of repayment for what my nephews did, even when I suggested they just sell the video games that were purchased with the money from the cans. Then they had the audacity to say I'd actually tempted my nephews by having the cans in my shed to begin with. Oh yes, I'm the devil's snake that tempted my nephews with a shed full of cans that just screamed, money, money, money. So, that was it. I went to the police station that morning and filed the report. gave them a copy of the video footage of my nephew stealing from my shed. I gave them the broken lock that they smashed, showed them all of the text which were screenshotted and also given as evidence. Heck, I even gave them a copy of the photo my eldest nephew sent me of him flipping me off. And I did tell the police that I found it worrisome that my nephews had taken the machete, but they classified it as a tool, especially since they took a lot of other actual tools. So, fair enough on that, I suppose. But my nephews were indeed arrested on Saturday. Police came to their house and my sister and brother-in-law were forced to let them in because they had a warrant. Apparently, all three of my nephews went from being cocky little craps to crying like babies when they were put in cuffs. I know this because a neighbor I'm acquainted with that's sort of friends with my sister was there to see it. And shortly after the arrest, my sister and brother-in-law were blowing up my phone again. They weren't able to get their kids out of jail till Monday morning. And now the boys are being charged with larceny, willful destruction of property and vandalism, and harassment. The police took this whole case pretty seriously, and there had been complaints about my nephews for some time. But nothing was proven until now. The past few months, bags of cans have actually been going missing all over the area. Don't know if it was my nephews or not, but they're likely suspects. And with word spreading of their arrest, let's hope other neighbors with security cameras come forward with more footage. My sister and brother-in-law showed up at my house too. I refused to open the door and I told them that this all happened because they're enablers who refused to hold their kids accountable for their actions. That made them just scream and pound on my door more till I threatened to call the police on them too. And since I've done it already, they know I mean it now. So they left without any more trouble. But they went back to blowing up my phone. I didn't block my sister or brother-in-law. Instead, I decided to just save all the messages that they sent me because I've made the decision to take them to small claims court over this. I don't really need or want the money, and I've already replaced the destroyed padlock with a much better one. However, the kids aren't the only ones who need to be taught a lesson. In the end, I hope I put them in enough of a hole that they learn not to screw with me ever again. I also have the full support of my family on this. My parents, aunts, uncles, cousins, and so on. They're all supporting me in this because my nephews have stolen from them too. And after banning my nephews from my house, some of them did the same. I'm going to push for my nephews to get community service. And the reason why isn't just because it's a good idea, but also because I know that they'll hate that the most. Whenever made to do any kind of work that they don't want to do, they just stand around griping and act like the whole world is against them. So hardly anything ever gets done. Perhaps a few hundred hours of unpaid work will teach them some manners. They've been spoiled far too much. Oh, the apple does not fall from the toxic tree. I mean, look, I'm a dad myself. I'm trying to train my kid up and just really help him in society to be a good, stable member. And these people are setting a horrible example for their kids. You know, the kids are going to copy their parents and the parents wonder why the kids are acting all crazy. Well, the kids are just watching and learning from the parents. Kids pick up on so much stuff. And you know what? These kids need some lessons. They think it's funny. Well, they're going to do work. They don't want to do work. Well, that's how the world is. You got to work. You're going to pay for your sins here and your punishment. You're brave and you rock, OP, for standing up for yourself and your family. Way to go. The HOA takes over and destroys my property, but I'm not even part of the HOA. Click on the video on your screen. You don't want to miss this crazy fallout, and I'll see you there.